Let history speak. The Minoan civilization is like a lost chapter from a fantastical novel that has long captured the imagination of people around the world. Imagine an ancient society thriving on the island of Crete, where the air is filled with the scent of olive trees and the sound of the Aegean Sea crashing against the shore. This was a place where art, architecture, and culture flourished in a way that seemed almost otherworldly. And at the heart of its lore lies the legend of the Labyrinth and the Minotaur. A tale that combines mystery, horror, and heroism in a way that makes it as captivating today as it was thousands of years ago. So, grab your virtual time traveling gear and let's journey back to the days of the Minoans. Story 1. The rise of the Minoans and the birth of the legend. Picture the island of Crete, around 2700 BCE. It's a land blessed with fertile soil, a mild climate, and a strategic location in the middle of the Aegean Sea. The early settlers here are like the OG homesteaders, slowly building their communities, fishing in the sea, and farming the land. But these folks have big dreams. They start to trade with neighboring islands and the mainland, bringing in new ideas, goods, and wealth. The Minoans, as they'll come to be known, are not your average ancient society. They're all about that artsy-fartsy life. Their architecture is mind-blowing. They build these massive palaces, like the one at Knossos. It's not just a big building. It's a complex of rooms, corridors, and courtyards that seems to go on forever. It's like a real-life version of a modern-day shopping mall, but with a lot more history and a whole lot less neon. The palaces are decorated with these amazing frescoes. These paintings are so vivid and detailed that it's like looking through a window into the past. You can see scenes of people dancing, bull leaping, which is exactly what it sounds like. People flipping over charging bulls, and nature scenes that are just beautiful. It's as if the Minoans were the ancient world's equivalent of Instagram influencers, showing off their cool lifestyle through art. Now, let's talk about the legend. King Minos rules over Crete, and he's got a bit of an ego. He wants everyone to know he's the boss, and he's not afraid to flex his power. According to the legend, Minos asks the god Poseidon for a sign of his favor. Poseidon sends him a beautiful white bull from the sea. Minos is supposed to sacrifice the bull to Poseidon, but he's like, nah, this bull is too pretty. I'll keep it for myself and sacrifice a different one instead. Poseidon is not happy about this. He's like, you think you can play me like that? So he curses Minos' wife, Persephone. She develops an insane attraction to the white bull. With the help of a master craftsman named Daedalus, she manages to mate with the bull. The result? A terrifying creature, half man and half bull, known as the Minotaur. Minos is horrified by this monster, but he can't just kill it because it's a sign of Poseidon's wrath. So, he calls on Daedalus again. Daedalus, being the genius that he is, builds the labyrinth. This is no ordinary maze. It's a mind-boggling structure with twists and turns that will make your head spin. It's like a giant, three-dimensional Rubik's Cube. The Minotaur is locked inside, and it becomes a symbol of Minos' hubris. The Minoans' power and influence continue to grow. They dominate trade in the Aegean, with their ships sailing far and wide. Their goods, from fine pottery to beautiful jewelry, are in high demand. Their society is relatively peaceful compared to many of their contemporaries. Women seem to have a relatively high status, participating in various aspects of life, from religious ceremonies to business. It's like they were way ahead of their time in terms of gender equality. But there are signs of trouble on the horizon. The Minoans are so focused on their internal development and trade that they might be overlooking some external threats. The island is vulnerable to natural disasters, and the political situation in the region is starting to get a bit unstable. Back to the legend, the Labyrinth and the Minotaur become a source of fear and fascination. Minos decides to use the Minotaur as a form of punishment. He demands that Athens, a rival state, send him 7 young men and 7 young women every 9 years to be sacrificed to the Minotaur. This is like a medieval version of a protection racket, but with a lot more monsters. The Athenians are not happy about this. They're basically being extorted by Crete, and they have no choice but to comply. This situation sets the stage for a hero to emerge. Enter Theseus, the Prince of Athens. He's a young, brave, and determined guy who's not going to stand for this injustice. He volunteers to be one of the sacrifices, with a secret plan to kill the Minotaur and end this nightmare. As Theseus prepares for his journey to Crete, the Minoan civilization is at a crossroads. Their society is still prosperous, but the seeds of change are being sown. The legend of the Labyrinth and the Minotaur is not just a story. It's a reflection of the Minoans' relationship with the gods, their power dynamics, and the challenges they face. The Minoans' religious beliefs play a huge role in their lives. They worship a variety of gods and goddesses, with a particular focus on a mother goddess figure. Their religious ceremonies are elaborate, often taking place in the palaces or in sacred caves. These ceremonies are a way for the Minoans to connect with the divine and seek protection and prosperity. The architecture of the palaces also has a religious significance. The large central courtyards are thought to be places for public gatherings and religious festivals. The rooms and corridors might have been used for various religious rituals and ceremonies. It's like the palaces were not just administrative and residential centers, but also spiritual hubs. In terms of technology, the Minoans were quite advanced. They had a system of writing known as Linear A, although it has yet to be fully deciphered. This writing system was used for record keeping, probably for things like trade transactions and inventory management. It's like they were the ancient world's accountants, using symbols to keep track of their wealth. The Minoans also had a sophisticated drainage and water supply system. Their palaces had running water and proper sewage disposal, which was a big deal in the ancient world. It's like they were the pioneers of modern plumbing, thousands of years before the rest of the world caught up. As Theseus sets sail for Crete, the Minoan civilization is in a state of both splendor and uncertainty. The legend of the Labyrinth and the Minotaur is about to take a new turn, and the fate of the Minoans hangs in the balance. The story of how Theseus will face the Minotaur and what it means for the Minoans is a cliffhanger that leaves us eager to find out more. The Minoan art, with its focus on nature and human activity, is a testament to their love for life. The bull leaping scenes in the frescoes are not just for show. They might have had a religious or cultural significance. It could be that the bull leaping was a form of initiation or a way to prove one's courage. It's like the Minoans were the ancient world's extreme sports enthusiasts, taking on dangerous challenges for the sake of their beliefs. The social structure of the Minoans is also an interesting aspect. There seems to be a clear distinction between the upper class, who lived in the palaces and were involved in politics and trade, and the lower class, who were farmers, fishermen, and craftsmen. However, there is also evidence of a middle class, which is quite unique for an ancient society. It's like they were trying to create a more balanced and inclusive society. The Minoans' trade network was extensive. They traded with places as far away as Egypt and the Levant. Their exports included olive oil, wine, and textiles, while they imported luxury goods like precious metals and exotic spices. This trade not only brought wealth to the Minoans, but also expose them to different cultures and ideas. It's like they were the ancient world's globalizers, connecting different parts of the world through commerce. As Theseus arrives in Crete, he is immediately struck by the grandeur of the Minoan civilization. The palaces are even more impressive than he had imagined, and the people seem to be living in a world of luxury and culture. But he doesn't have time to admire the sights. He knows that his mission is to find the Labyrinth, face the Minotaur, and bring an end to the Athenian sacrifices. The Minoans, on the other hand, are going about their daily lives, mostly unaware of the threat that Theseus poses. Their society is so focused on its own internal affairs and the beauty of its art and architecture that they might be underestimating the determination of this young Athenian prince. The Labyrinth, hidden deep within the palace at Knossos, is a mystery waiting to be solved. It's like a puzzle with no clear solution, a place where the unwary can easily get lost forever. Theseus will need all his wits and courage to navigate its treacherous corridors and face the fearsome Minotaur. The Minoan civilization's future is now intertwined with the outcome of Theseus' mission. Will he be able to defeat the Minotaur and break the hold that King Minos has over Athens? Or will the Minoans continue to rule the Aegean with their power and their legend intact? The answers to these questions will shape the next chapter of this ancient and fascinating story. The Minoans' relationship with the sea is also a crucial part of their identity. Their ships were not just vessels for trade. They were symbols of their power and exploration. They were skilled seafarers, able to navigate the often treacherous waters of the Aegean. It's like they were the ancient world's pirates, but with a lot more class and a focus on trade rather than plunder. The Minoan religion, with its many gods and goddesses, influenced every aspect of their lives. The priests and priestesses held a position of great power and respect. They were responsible for conducting the religious ceremonies, interpreting the will of the gods, and maintaining the spiritual well-being of the society. It's like they were the ancient world's spiritual advisors, guiding the people through the ups and downs of life. The art of the Minoans was not just for decoration, it was a form of communication. The frescoes told stories about their society, their beliefs, and their values. They were like the ancient world's newspapers, spreading information and ideas through visual means. As Theseus begins his search for the Labyrinth, the Minoan civilization is on the verge of a major turning point. The legend of the Labyrinth and the Minotaur is about to reach a climax, and the outcome will have far-reaching consequences for both the Minoans and the Athenians. The Minoans' architectural achievements were not just about building big and beautiful structures. The palaces were designed to be functional, as well as aesthetically pleasing. The ventilation systems in the palaces were quite advanced, allowing for a comfortable living environment even in the hot Cretan summers. It's like they were the ancient world's architects, combining form and function in a way that was ahead of their time. The Minoan society was also known for its relatively peaceful nature. There was little evidence of large-scale warfare on the island. Instead, they seem to have resolved conflicts through diplomacy and trade. It's like they were the ancient world's peacemakers, choosing negotiation over violence. The Minoans' writing system, Linear A, was a complex and sophisticated form of communication. Although we still don't fully understand what it says, it is clear that it was used for a variety of purposes. It could have been used for recording laws, religious texts, or business transactions. It's like they were the ancient world's scribes, using symbols to document their lives. As Theseus gets closer to the Labyrinth, the tension in the air is palpable. The Minoans, completely unaware of the danger that is about to be unleashed within their walls, continue to go about their daily lives. The legend of the Labyrinth and the Minotaur is about to take a turn that will change the course of history forever. Story 2. The Battle in the Labyrinth and the Decline of the Minoans. Theseus steps into the labyrinth, his heart pounding like a drum. The air is thick and musty, and the dim light from his torch barely penetrates the darkness. He knows that at any moment, the Minotaur could be lurking around the next corner. The walls of the labyrinth seem to close in on him, as if they are alive and trying to trap him. But Theseus is not alone. Ariadne, King Minos' daughter, has fallen in love with him. She gives him a ball of thread, which he can use to find his way out of the labyrinth once he has defeated the Minotaur. It's like she's his secret weapon, a modern-day GPS in a world without technology. As Theseus makes his way deeper into the labyrinth, he can hear the growls of the Minotaur. The sound sends shivers down his spine, but he doesn't let fear get the better of him. He tightens his grip on his sword and continues forward. Finally, he comes face to face with the Minotaur. The creature is massive, with the body of a man and the head of a bull. Its eyes are filled with rage and hunger, and its horns look sharp enough to pierce through steel. It charges at Theseus, but Theseus is ready. He dodges the first attack and then strikes back with all his might. The battle between Theseus and the Minotaur is intense. It's like a scene from a Hollywood action movie, with sword clashes and roars echoing through the labyrinth. Theseus uses all his strength and skill to fight the monster. He manages to land a few blows, but the Minotaur is tough. It keeps coming at him, trying to crush him with its massive body. But Theseus doesn't give up. He remembers his mission, to save Athens and end the sacrifices. With one final, powerful strike, he plunges his sword into the heart of the Minotaur. The monster lets out a deafening roar, and then collapses to the ground, dead. Theseus has done it. He has defeated the fearsome Minotaur. He then follows the thread back out of the labyrinth, leading the other Athenian youths to safety. The Minoans are shocked when they discover what has happened. King Minos is furious. He has lost his most powerful symbol of fear and control, and his daughter has betrayed him. The defeat of the Minotaur is a major blow to the Minoan civilization. It shatters their reputation as an invincible society. The other city-states in the region start to see the Minoans in a different light. They realize that the Minoans are not as powerful as they once thought. But it's not just the defeat of the Minotaur that spells trouble for the Minoans. Around this time, a series of natural disasters strike Crete. There are earthquakes that shake the island to its core. The palaces, which were once so grand and stable, start to crumble. The beautiful frescoes are damaged, and the infrastructure is destroyed. It's like the gods are angry with the Minoans. The earthquakes were followed by tsunamis, which flood the coastal areas. The Minoan ships, which were their pride and joy, are destroyed, and their trade network is severely disrupted. The Minoans, who were once masters of the sea, are now struggling to survive. The political situation also becomes unstable. With the weakening of King Minos' power, after the defeat of the Minotaur, there are power struggles within the Minoan society. Different factions start to emerge, each vying for control. It's like a reality show, but with a lot more bloodshed. The Minoans' economy takes a nosedive. Their exports decline, and they are no longer able to import the luxury goods they once enjoyed. The farmers are struggling to grow crops because of the damaged land, and the fishermen are having a hard time catching fish because of the disrupted marine ecosystem. The Minoan art, which was once so vibrant and innovative, starts to decline. The new generations of artists are not able to create the same level of masterpieces as their predecessors. The frescoes become less detailed and less colorful, a reflection of the decline of the civilization. The Minoan religion also changes. With the destruction of the palaces, which were the centers of religious worship, the people start to lose faith in the old gods. They look for new ways to connect with the divine, and new religious practices start to emerge. It's like the Minoans are in a state of spiritual crisis. As the Minoan civilization continues to decline, other powers in the region start to take advantage. The Mycenaeans, a mainland Greek civilization, see an opportunity to expand their influence. They launch attacks on Crete, taking over the weakened Minoan cities. The Minoans are no match for the Mycenaeans. Their once powerful army is now a shadow of its former self. The Mycenaeans are more aggressive and better organized. They capture the remaining Minoan palaces and loot them of their treasures. The Minoan language, Linear A, also fades away. With the decline of the civilization, there are fewer people who can read and write it. It becomes a lost language, leaving behind only fragments of a once great culture. The Minoan society, which was once so advanced and prosperous, is now in ruins. The beautiful palaces are just piles of rubble, and the people are struggling to survive. The legend of the Labyrinth and the Minotaur, which was once a symbol of the Minoans' power and mystery, is now just a story, a reminder of a civilization that was lost to time. But the legacy of the Minoans lives on. Their art, architecture, and culture have influenced later civilizations. The idea of the labyrinth and the Minotaur has become a part of Western mythology, inspiring countless books, movies, and works of art. It's like the Minoans left behind a fingerprint on the history of the world.